All right, Roto Grinders, here we are. It is Sunday morning, and it's not Sunday morning coming down because I didn't stay up too late last night. I actually was in bed by 10:40. I got a little mad because some of my GPP things weren't going my way, so I just went to bed. Thought I'd get a good night's sleep. But you know what? It's a new day today. It's a dawning, and that makes it Sunday Fun Day! Now, I got a special guest on the show today, so I had to do that a little more slow, a little more drawn out, and ease him into it because I don't want to blow out their eardrums. But for the first time in the history of Roto Grinders, two pop culture mavens meet on the field of battle. There may be some baseball discussed today, but we're going to have some fun because we always have fun. So, special guest host, make your appearance and presence known, please.
Do you want to? Oh, I guess now they can see me, so never mind. I was gonna try to do like I was hidden behind a door for some reason, but now they can see me. We're on Google Hangouts, so yeah. So much for that spoiler alert. I'm up on a Sunday. I'm a little bit cranky. Like I said on Twitter, I'm equal parts cranky and I'm equal parts giddy because we've never worked together somehow. I don't know who's making these schedules. I guess there's a rival I wasn't even aware of. But yeah, it's good to work with you. Good to actually talk with you, verbalize. We've spoken on the Twitter before, but it's just not the same.
It clearly isn't. It clearly isn't. But we've already had a good time rehashing some movies. Pre-show, I think we better get our baseball thinking caps on and have a little fun here. But as always, Dean, whenever I am on a show, there is an interesting slate, without fail. Today, where's the interest, you ask? Well, we have two amazing pitchers with Yu Darvish and Masahiro Tanaka. It's going to be awesome. Or Tanaka.
I'm sorry. Tanaki. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Tanaki.
Sorry.
I was thinking, I had some joke about Saki and all that, but I'm not going to do that. That's
no worries.
Okay. That's okay. We'll just say, domo arigato. So, those guys are a little spendy. You're going to have to throw the yen around to get them on your lineups. But we got another few cheaper plays. Now, I want to hear what you have to say about Darvish and Tanaka. I have looked at them. I have made lineups with one or the other. And I have not been happy with my bats. Like, not even – now, I love Pepsi 7's analogy that your cash games you love because you get great bats in there because you don't pay up for pitching for the most part. Cash games are the ones you hate, but they're the ones that you're steady performers. You go high for pitching. And because we are grinders, we should be able to find that those hidden values that make any pitcher work that we want with the bats. I can't even come close to liking my lineup so far with Tanaka and you. So I'm curious, is it worth paying for them? Now, on our sponsor DraftKings, it's more doable. FanDuel is where I was kind of getting hamstrung. I mean, I think we've discovered FanDuel's new cap. I think it's 11-5 because there's a couple pitchers that are at that point. But talk about the aces. I know you like to play a little bit on Draft Street, but we'll use DraftKings as our baseline point today since they're the show sponsor. But give us a little thoughts on what you do. These guys are awesome, but they're priced up, and they're not in awesome matchups.
Yeah, normally when I play my cash games, and I play a ton of cash games, I don't play a ton of GPPs. Mostly my cash games are like 70-80% of my volume. Normally I like to play it as safe as possible, and I love Yu Darvish and I love Tanaka. Every fifth day they're always on my radar. But today you have to ask yourself the question. Here's the question you're asking yourself. What is a scarier fade? What's scarier to fade? Yu Darvish, Tanaka, or Colorado, Milwaukee? Because you got to make a choice. And if you've been watching these Colorado, Milwaukee games the past few days, and if you see the over/under today, I got it right. It's the over/under today. I believe it's 10.5. Milwaukee is in an absolute great spot, as is Colorado. There's going to be a ton of runs there. I think it's scarier to fade the bats today, which is something I rarely do. I mean, it's scary to fade the monster bats just because of what a good spot they're in. So I'm thinking we're along the same lines. I feel like I'm not going to have a ton of exposure to Darvish or Tanaka, even though, you know, they're normally just incredibly, ridiculously reliable, just as long as they're not playing in Oakland, pretty much.
Yeah, and then one of the highest cap values I've seen is for Tanaka is on Fantasy Feud, 170. Now, normally their cap is a little looser than some. It's $1 million cap, but so 17%. But you have to. I mean, you got to do like 11 players. So the highest bats are like 90K, and then you got a pitcher that's 2x that. It's pretty crazy.
Wow.
So I don't know. I'm sad. It's Baltimore. He hasn't been. He has one outing where he's given up 3 runs or more.
Incidentally, I think I have not played Fantasy Feud in a good year or so. I feel like I must have at least $300 just sitting in my account. Could be 500, could be 600. I have no idea. One of these days I'm going to log on there. Not a terrible site, but I don't know. It just somehow doesn't work its way into my day. But now that you mention it, I'm intrigued. I'm curious to pop back on there and make a cameo appearance. Incidentally, I'm a little disturbed, a little upset. I'm a little disappointed, actually. You're the bobblehead guy. That's your thing, and you've yet to mention. We're 11 minutes into the broadcast. Do you know whose bobblehead it is today?
I do not know. I know Bryce Harper's coming up.
It's Troy Tulowitzki's bobblehead. Well, it's a
Are you
bobblehead
kidding?
gnome. His bobblehead gnome day is today, which is a new thing. These gnomes are very popular.
Well, I wore my Colorado hat yesterday. It's got the place of honor back there on my closet. I picked that up when I was in Denver a couple weeks ago. I met up with CSU Ram for a ball game there, and Troy Tulowitzki hit a home run in that game. It was an unexciting 3-2 loss. So the next 2 days they went off for 40 runs between the teams, but the game I was there was only 4 or 5 runs. But I have a hat from a game that Troy Tulowitzki hit a home run, and we're going to get to him. But wow, I did not realize it was his bobblehead gnome day. So chat, you're going to have to look that up for us.
Another bobblehead, by the way. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but also it's a Coco Crisp Garden Gnome Day. There's another one for you. And the Marlins are doing something special. Unfortunately, these guys, you can't play them. Otherwise, they'd be must-plays. They have the Salty and Pepper. The Salty and Pepe, actually. It's a play on Salt and Pepper, obviously. You know, you're aware of Salt and Pepper. But maybe the kids aren't. I'm not exactly sure. But they have Salt and Pepper shakers, one for Jared Saltalamacchia and the other one for Jose Fernandez. Because Pepe is it's a nickname for Jose. I'm not sure if you're aware of this. But there you go.
I was not aware of that. Sadly, he is not playing today or the rest of the season. Yeah. All right, so back to the pitching. We'll have to keep ourselves reined in. So we've already said the best players are probably too priced out. That's going to leave for us Hyunjin Ryu. So you know what's shocking about him when I was doing my analysis? That he is better away from Chavez Ravine than he is in Chavez Ravine. Fortunately, he's going to Petco, so that's like a double plus for him. He's in a great spot. Looking over here at my notes, that he has a 1.64 ERA away from LA and a 2.13 batting average against. So we already know that the Padres score 3.7 runs per game at home, 29th in the major leagues. I think he's going to be the guy you're going to see everywhere. I'm not as happy. He doesn't have as much K upside as I'd like, but like most of the Dodger pitchers, he has flirted with a no-hitter already this season. He took one into the 7th a couple weeks ago on Sunday Night Baseball. Is he pretty much going to be on all your lineups today?
I mean, he seems to, if you want to try to squeeze in some Milwaukee and Colorado bats, which definitely you want to do, which incidentally we should say, like yesterday, the lineups didn't come out in time as far as lock, unless you're on a site like DraftKings where there's late swap. If you're playing on a site that does not have late swap, be very careful. Jonathan Lucroy will be a very expensive guy if he's sitting on your bench. I know the matchup looks really tasty, but catchers tend to relax, tend to get the day off on Sundays, so maybe he won't play. Tulowitzki might get pinched, who knows? It is his gnome day, so I'm not really sure if he's going to sit. Maybe they'll roll him out, but Carlos Gomez had that injury. I guess he's fine. Or who knows, Ryan Braun? I'm not really sure, but I'm frightened of that. That's another thing we should talk about, I guess, but maybe by 1 o'clock we'll get 1 or 2 of those lineups. Maybe we won't. As far as pitching, yeah, Rio is a nice, healthy, safe step down. The Padres are just horrendous. We saw Josh Beckett last night. I think he had like 10 Ks against them. And Josh Beckett's like 1,000. I know he had a no-hitter this year, but he's still not the same guy as he used to be. I guess he's been pretty solid this year, but the Padres are just so terrible. So, yeah, Rio, I'm perfectly fine with him in my cash games, and it's kind of a nice balance of getting a reliable, safe, solid pitcher. Maybe it isn't the upside. Well, it certainly isn't the upside of a guy like Darvish or Tanaka or Tanaki. But either way, I think it's a nice balance of pitching and gives you a chance to get some healthy bats as well.
All right. Yeah, so I'll agree. We'll get to some of the walking wounded that are there in that Colorado game when we get to the bats. But you're right, heavy risk associated with that. Some of them are pretty pricey. You can't afford to have them just make a pinch hit appearance for you if you're going to pay that kind of or use that amount of your salary cap on him. Looking down at the rest of the pitchers, I like Tanner Roark. He's been fantastic at home. He doesn't have a lot of Ks. I think he's had 4 or less in all of his starts except the random 11 strikeout game he had when he was playing the Padres, the aforementioned Padres. But the Braves are 6th against with a 22.3% strikeout rate against righties, and they're 27th with a 293 WOBA. So I like him. He's only given up 2 home runs at the Nationals Park, so definitely like him. I can't believe I'm going to say it, but Phil Hughes has actually been good. I'll let you discuss that one. I need to go wash my mouth out with soap. But Dallas Keuchel, I think, is in a reasonable spot. The Tampa Bay Rays have been struggling to score lately. Eric Bedard's going against him, so I like his shot at a win. And then my sneaky guy picking on your Marlins is going to be Jonathan Neese. Again, this is more my call on it, but I do like his K upside. I think if he can work around Giancarlo Stanton, who is one of the #1 outfield plays of the day, I don't think there's a lot of other guys that are going to take him to town for the Marlins. So that's kind of where I'm looking. The lower end, middle of the road, Ryu's going to be my mainstay. Multi-pitcher sides is kind of Ryu and York. Keuchel is in there. Yordano Ventura, I would normally like going against the Mariners, but he's striking out like a batter every other inning now. That's not what you want from a guy who's supposed to be a strikeout pitcher. So that's kind of where I'm at. What would you like to comment on? And did I miss anything that has popped up in the Dean Sports Almanac this morning?
I agree with you on Phil Hughes. The price, 8.7 on DraftKings, it's not amazing. You don't want to pay 8.7K for Phil Hughes, but you'll certainly pay 8.7K for the numbers he's been putting up of late. And the White Sox, you talk about the Braves striking out. The White Sox strike out more than anybody in baseball. They certainly have boom or bust dong guys like, of course, Abreu, Viciedo, Dunn. They can strike out a bunch, and I think that one's in play. I feel like there's some weather there lurking. We didn't mention weather. There's some games that nothing looks too egregious, but Colorado, there is some weather lurking. Of course there is. And I believe there's some weather lurking in Minnesota as well, maybe amongst a couple other places. Nothing to certainly to keep your eye on it. But I don't think anything's at the risk to get canceled just yet, but we should mention that. Neese, I'm fine with that. The Marlins, they're not that good. I know everybody was afraid of the Marlins at the beginning of the year. That was a small sample size. They are better against righties. Of course, Stanton can absolutely mash righties. Jeff Baker's in the lineup. Against lefties. Jeff Baker's in the lineup. He's a lefty masher, at least he has been in the past. Hasn't necessarily been this season. Reed Johnson's leading off, which is interesting. I guess he's a value play. I would rather have Ozuna against lefties as well, but the Mets. I think the Mets have shut the Marlins down 2 of these 3 games so far. Not exactly the most daunting lineups. Hey, Dietrich's back. Look at that. Dietrich's back from the minors. I think he had like 6 home runs in 10 games. He's a horrendous defender. That's one of the reasons why they set him down. He made Dan Uggla look like Brandon Phillips. He's just brutal on defense. When Dan Uggla was a defender for the Marlins, a second baseman for the Marlins, he was terrible. Ventura. You mentioned Ventura. The price is really, really tasty. He's not striking anybody up because he's not. I guess he's not trying his hardest to throw fastballs because his velocity is down. Maybe he's scared from his injury. I'm not sure what's going on.
You've got a guy that can hit 100, not trying to throw hard. That's not a good recipe.
Well, I think the team kind of said, listen, don't go all out in every single pitch, and I think they might have messed with his head. I'm not exactly sure what's going on, but he's not maxing out as far as his velocity is down one way or another. Maybe his arm hurts, or he's just not trying his hardest. We do get a price break on Max Scherzer, but he's just been getting pummeled the last couple times. And if you just don't care about that, 10.2K is a pretty, I think for a GPP, certainly not for a cash game, because we've seen Scherzer has a 10K potential, so I think he's in play as well. I do agree at Tanner Roark, perfectly fine with him. And you mentioned Phil Hughes. Look at the guy on the other side, John Denks. Has been ridiculously awesome of late. Yes, John Denks. Check out his game log. He's priced up a little bit here, 7.5K. That's actually pretty fair. But if you just look at his points, 19, 18, 24, 13, maybe it was before that, 24. He's been much more competent than we think he is. How about that?
Yeah, since May 18th. Ooh, isn't that Mount St. Helens Day? Since May 18th, when he gave up 7 earned runs, in his next 5 starts, he gave up 6 total earned runs. So, I don't know. I think the music's about to stop, and I want to be sitting in a chair when it stops. I don't think I'm going to be on Diggity Danks today.
I don't think I am either, but for a tournament, sure. But Minnesota's lineup's not very good. I mean, I'm trying to see what bats you'd want to avoid. Certainly, Brian Dozier's in play, but yeah, I'm just throwing it out there. I think Danks is a tournament play, at least somebody to consider. Cash game, no thank you.
Yeah, and Scherzer, back in late May, he faced this very same Cleveland team and gave up 12 hits. So, I don't know. I thought he was going to be the guy that was going to be my main play. It turned out it was going to be it just ended up being Ryu, and I don't even know that I'll pivot to Scherzer. Did you know that Scherzer has 2 different colored eyes? It's always a little trippy.
I was not aware of it. I'm pulling up his picture now. Is there one blue and one like blackish, darkish?
I think it's green or brown. I don't know. But they did. Oh, speaking of bobbleheads, they did a bobblehead of him with 2 different colored eyes. So
I like the details. I appreciate that.
Anyway, so there's I mean, I guess there's a fair amount of pitching out there. It's going to be another one of those where there's not going to be a main play. We didn't even mention Johnny Cueto. I mean, yeah, he's going against Detroit, or pardon me, not Detroit, Toronto. But Toronto kind of calmed down over the last week and a half. And I don't know, a sleeping giant, but they're going to be without one of their big bats. Most likely Lind will sit today because they don't get the DH. So,
and
I don't know.
John Lester we're completely avoiding at Oakland. I guess I'm a little scared. I'm a little bit nervous. And Madison Bumgarner, another elite pitcher. But he's 10.5K in Arizona, which is always a tricky ballpark. So I'm not exactly sure if I'm going there. So we have. It's weird because Tanaka against Baltimore is a little bit. I think he'll be fine against Baltimore. Darvish. I saw a stat where Darvish, I believe, in 175 at-bats against the Angels. You know, we talk about BVP all the time. What about PVB? Pitcher versus batter. Darvish, I believe he struck out 35% of the batters he's faced when he faces the Angels in 175 at-bats. So, and we've seen his upside is absolutely insane.
Yeah, he kind of owns the Angels. Conversely, the Oakland A's own him amongst his league rivals in the AL West there. So it's a tough one. But I believe he's on Sunday Night Baseball, so you can always watch him. And,
what about Max Shoemaker on the other side? He's actually amazing his last game.
GPP, yes. I don't mind rolling dice. He is priced like a reliever on some sites. I could probably get behind him on multi-pitcher sides, but not a lot. So everybody's coming with a big hesitation but yeah, I'm not sure I can do it. I just don't see an obvious guy outside of Ryu. So I think that means he's going to be heavily owned. I'm guessing probably 50% or better.
I agree. I'm just trying to figure out a way to possibly fit. If somebody wants to stack Milwaukee, if somebody wants to stack Colorado, or some combination of. I mean, Brandon Compton against the Cubs, 5.2K is really, really cheap on DraftKings. Not necessarily endorsing him, and he can be horrendous. But the Cubs aren't particularly a daunting offense for a tournament, absolutely. And I guess I'm not sure if Carlos Martinez is fully stretched out because he only went like 50 pitches or so his last game. Maybe he'll go like 65 tonight, but I'll probably avoid that as well. But I know there will be some stacks of Colorado and Milwaukee. I'm just trying to figure out how they're going to make it happen.
Yeah, I don't know. These are the games days I'm not really a huge fan of playing a lot of volume when there's a ton of Colorado because the overlap is just so much. I saw it yesterday, and it kind of frustrated me a little bit. So, I mean, I understand why you're doing it. It's the good play to do. And as we've said today, I'm too scared to fade that. But it really locks you into a lot of the same plays as the rest of the crowd. So, word of caution on that. Now, let's get on to the bats here. I think we got to start out, of course, with Jonathan Lucroy. I think he had a day off about 4 days ago, so he should be okay. They have been playing him at first once a week now, Dean. So I think there's a pretty good chance he'll be in the lineup, but that is a gigantic premium. On most sites, he is the highest paid or highest salaried catcher. So I don't know about that. The guy I'm hoping is in the lineup is A.J. Ellis going against Eric Stoltz. He has, granted, in a smaller sample size, but he's got a 500 on-base percentage against lefties. Stoltz is giving up almost 320 batting average to everybody. It doesn't matter if you're righty or lefty. He's giving you some hits. So those are the two guys that I'm focusing on, and it's turning out to be AJ Ellis by default. I like Devin Mesoraco a lot if he's going to be in the lineup. And
He's out.
He's out. Well, there we go. So let's cross him off the list. And then Yadier Molina, I think, is good. He's been struggling a little bit lately, but he's good against lefties. He's good against righties. And he's good with neck tattoos. So
yeah, that's good for points.
Who do you think has a more intimidating neck tattoo, King Felix or Yadier?
I'm gonna say it's Yadier because Yadier's got the scowl to go with it too. He's got a nice tat scowl combination.
Yeah, Felix just looks a little too jovial. So
yeah.
I would agree. Who else do you like at catcher?
Well, if Derek Norris plays, I know he got hit in the head the other night or something like that. He got pulled out. Don't mind him at 4.1K. Not exactly an elite matchup versus John Lester. You don't want to pick on John Lester too much, but Derek Norris, you can't ignore his numbers versus lefties. He absolutely matches them. If you want to go really cheap, I don't mind Alex Avila. He's 3.3K versus Tomlin, batting 7th. If you want to punt the position, like you said, Lucroy. If you can fit Lucroy in, here's like we're talking. We'll just keep saying the same thing over and over. If you can fit these guys in, and you're happy with everything else, you're happy with your pitching, by all means, unleash Jonathan Lucroy. But 5.8K on DraftKings, that's pretty steep. That's more than 1K than everybody else. I don't mind Buster Posey, 4.6K. Not exactly the most ideal of prices. Sure, I'm fine with Yadier. Montero I'm going to avoid because of the lefty-lefty matchup today. Sal Perez versus, no, probably not. There's not a lot jumping out to me. Willem Rosario, I guess we can't totally ignore him. At home, we like to unleash him versus the lefties, but he's not, Kyle Loesch isn't exactly someone to be feared. I think Avila's kind of like a pretty safe punt. I don't disagree with you about Ellis either if he's in the lineup. Stoltz is horrendous, so not exactly the most ideal of ballparks. But it doesn't matter. He can get some gappers. There should be some guys on there. So at 3K as a punt/value play, I'm okay with that. But I think Avila at 3.3K might be a little bit of a better spot.
All right, here's our guy for DraftKings. Brian McCann batting 5th, lefty-righty matchup against Chris Tillman, 3.6.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Might be where we land. I wouldn't mind rolling Corey Joseph out there, except he's facing Tanaka. So yeah, I guess if you're going to go super punt cheap, I don't mind Jose Molina, one of the Molina brothers, going against Keuchel. But even then, I don't know. I think you kind of have to stop the bleeding at catcher today with one of those mid-range guys. All right, first base. Who do we like in the Colorado game? That would be, what do you want to say, Morneau?
I think so, yeah. I'm perfectly fine with Morneau. He had a dong the other day. He should have had 2 dongs. He just missed. And, again, I hate to be repetitive, but we should just say, listen, anybody in Colorado and Milwaukee, anybody that's going to be in the lineup is in play. Anybody that is worth a look. DraftKings actually did a really good job of putting these prices up where it's kind of hard to, to play a bunch of them. But absolutely, by all means, Justin Morneau. On the other side, you mentioned Lucroy sometimes plays first base. If he's not playing first base, Mark Reynolds will probably be there at 4.1K, and he's got a ton of home run upside as well. He could strike out a ton for you as well. So be cautious if your site, docks you for Ks. But he can dong. He can dong twice, so I have no problems there. David Ortiz, here you go. I wish Stevie was in the show. I'm not exactly sure what your obsession is with BVP, but David Ortiz has faced Thomas Malone, touchdown Tommy. He's faced him 3 times. You know what he's done against him?
I'm going to say he's homered all 3 times, which means he's a guaranteed home run today.
There you go. Yeah, Tommy Malone has he's got the pretty severe actually reverse split, so don't be afraid of that lefty on lefty matchup. And you're correct. 3 for 3, 3 dongs. I think he walked twice. Eventually Malone said, hey, maybe let's just walk this guy. So, and the wind is blowing out in Oakland as well, for whatever that's worth, like 15 degrees. So I would not be frightened of Ortiz at all. That's kind of where I'm looking at. Don't mind Joey Votto, but he's more of a cash game play, depending on, Adrian Gonzalez is really cheap, I think, in some spots. 4.4K on DraftKings, that's fine. He was, he played in San Diego for a few years and did pretty well against the lefty Stoltz. I believe he actually, if you look at the BVP sample there, it's pretty small, but I think he's been pretty solid against Stoltz as well. And I guess Mike Napoli, sure. Let's pick on Tommy Malone a little bit more. I don't mind Napoli as a tournament play.
All right, throw a couple more out there. Anthony Rizzo got a home run last night. He's probably my top play outside of the Colorado game, going against Compton. Joey Votto, no home runs, but doubles, walks. Gotta like that. I don't have faith in R.A. Dickey. And then you can always spend for Goldschmidt and Cabrera. You know who we didn't mention? Matt Adams. Kyle Kendrick. Lefty-righty, Matt Adams. There's a pretty good guy. And then another one, you got to see him hit a home run last night. That would be one Lucas Duda. Thoughts on Duda?
Yeah, he's going up against Disco Stu, Disclafini. I'm perfectly fine with him. Not for my cash games, for a tournament, sure, why not?
All right, good. We needed to catch up a little bit of time here, but we're at the noon hour, so I just want to say thank you, DraftKings, to our sponsor site. Gamers, there is quite a bit of overlay brewing, and I know it's an hour before the games are going off, but the majority of the GPPs are only 40 to 50% full right now. That includes the Moonshot, which has 1,700 spots left. Your $2 chance to be like a big swinging dick and throw in $20 there and get 10 entries and show that you can do a bunch of multiple entries. I've done that before. I've had fun with it. I've also lost with it. But 10 entries. How many entries have you ever put into one of those before, Dean? I think you get to about, if you get to about 10 and you get real repetitive. And unless you're going to be stacking, it's kind of counterproductive in my opinion at that point.
I've never put in maybe like 4 or 5 is like kind of where I max out. The only time I'll put in a ton of GPP plays is when there's like a big tournament going on and I've won a bunch of satellites to get in there and I might have like 10 or 15 tickets. Then I'll pump out the the lineups and all that. But like I said, I play a ton of cash games and I usually have 2, 3, maybe 4 GPP teams on a given day. But I don't unleash a ton. So that's like I don't. I'm too boring. I'm too safe. Like I said it before. I'm like Kanish and Rounders. I don't like to take a chance too often. You don't see me playing the queues very much. If I do, it's probably because I want a ticket to get in there. So I'm safe and boring and unfun. But I will throw 1 or 2 or 3 or something like that just to get a little action.
Yeah, fair enough. And I would say probably once a month I'll do that in one of the cheap $2 or $5 GPPs. I'll get a wild hair on a Friday or a Saturday and put a bunch of entries in. I haven't really, successfully taken anything down, but it's fun to do from time to time because you watch people like McJester and others do it with some frequency and you say, oh, I can do that. No, turns out it's a very special skill set, so...
For basketball, I have no idea how they do it for basketball. That's the one that baffles me because of all the late scratches. I could not do that. Baseball, I could do it. I'm not saying I can do that success necessarily, but I think it's something that's doable. You can sit down and you can figure out all the lineups are there. They're not really going to change on you. You have like a half an hour to play with every team in front of you, so you can make it happen. It might drive you a little bit nuts, and it's not exactly something you want to do. It's not stress-free, I would say. But when they do it for basketball, like 30, 40 lineups for basketball, I don't get it. I have no idea how it's done, but it's impressive.
Yeah, it definitely is. It definitely is. I got this little note here. It says, I've seen it raining fire in the sky. You can talk to God and listen to the casual reply. Do you know why that is, Dean? Because of a Rocky Mountain High, Colorado.
John Denver?
High, Colorado. Johnny Denver! Johnny Denver says he wants to play Ricky Weeks. It was a little whisper from the beyond that told me in a vision. He said Ricky Weeks will improve upon his triple and RBI yesterday with even more points today. So, with those kind of endorsements from the spiritual world, who would you go outside of Ricky today at second base?
Yeah, just in case we don't get a lineup today, I'd imagine it's going to be Ricky Weeks. He's 3.4K on DraftKings. That's a great value. And whenever they face a lefty, Ricky Weeks is usually leading off. Scooter usually takes the seat. So, I feel pretty confident that's going to happen. We don't know. Maybe, he played yesterday as a lefty yesterday as well. But pretty confidently, I would say that Ricky Weeks should be leading off today. And great value, great spot, and all that. And Ricky Weeks is not the hitter he once was back in 2006, whatever it may be. But Colorado tends to make people hit a little bit better, so I'm perfectly fine there. If you're going to pay up, I mentioned I like Brian Dozier versus the lefty, John Danks. 4.7K is a little bit pricey. But you know what my favorite player is, one of my absolute favorite players in all of baseball, the diminutive Jose Altuve, 5'5", give or take. That's probably take. I think it's tops pretty much. 5'5", Jose Altuve versus a lefty, always in play against Eric Bedard. I know we don't like to talk about batting average. At least some hosts don't like. They frown on batting average because it's so 1997. But his batting average versus lefties is .427, which is absolutely insane. And his OPS is over 1,000 as well. The only drawback is he's less likely to steal a base against the lefty, just generally speaking. Lefties tend to hold on runners better than righties do, but he just crushes them. It's ridiculous. And so I'm perfectly fine with Altuve. The price is 4.6, which is not too that's not too strenuous. You can make it happen. You can make it work. And Zobrist, I guess, 3.5K is like a safe sort of cash game play. But I guess Keuchel's not necessarily somebody you want to pick on either. But there's a couple guys for you.
All right. What about Ed Lucas, batting second for your Miami Marlins?
How much is that, Lucas? Is he really, really cheap?
$2,700 on DraftKings.
Okay, I'm fine with that. He's not gonna dong for you, but he's a kind of a line drive guy that singles and he probably score a run or two if he gets on base because Giancarlo Stanton's hitting behind him. So yeah, okay, I'm fine with that. He might get pinch hit for it later in the game. It's possible, but yeah, okay. As a full-fledged punt, if you want to fit another Milwaukee guys, if you want to pay up for a top pitcher, I'm not going to talk you out of it.
All right, here's one. Even though I like Tanner Roark, I'm going with Tommy La Stella today. Leading off, 3,400. I don't mind that one little bit.
Yeah, I agree. Again, La Stella is kind of like the anti-Ugla. He doesn't have a ton of power. He doesn't have Popeye arms. But he's just going to get on base. He's uneventful, but he'll get his singles. He'll score a run or two. He's probably not going to kill you.
Let's see. And then in multiple position eligibility on our sponsor DraftKings, Kyle Seager going against Ventura. You got a nice little lefty-righty platoon in his advantage. He's batting fifth, 3,900. I think you can look to Matt Carpenter. He'll probably beat one of my better third basemen outside of the Colorado game. But he is also eligible at second base, 4,100 going against Kendrick. Looks like there's a little bit of weather there, but they probably will get that game in. Valbuena. Talk to me about Valbuena. I know I have a feeling he's one of your sneaky plays that you like to rely on sites such as Draft Street where they tend to misprice him. What are your thoughts on Valbuena going against Compton?
He's not somebody I play that very often. I probably should because he is a nice break. I'm not a huge Valbuena fan. I'm just not. I don't. He doesn't do it for me. I know a lot of people like him, but he's not one of my go-tos. Tell me why he should be.
Because it's a lefty-righty. He is in Chicago, and his name means good, sort of. Valbuena.
Okay, yeah. I was trying to. Yeah, okay, Valbuena.
I don't know.
I'm like
Español es terrible.
My 4 years of Spanish is like, wait a second, I did not learn Valbuena. What's going on here? My teacher sucked. Should mention also Dustin Pedroia whenever he plays against a lefty. He's in play, not exactly in Fenway Park, which we like him, but in spacious Oakland. But I think he's facing the third lefty. And Tommy Malone, the aforementioned Tommy Malone, he does it the splits. He's actually better, worse versus lefties. At least he has been. But it doesn't mean we should shy away from Dustin Pedroia either.
All right, Brian Dozier. If you don't believe in John Danks, and I know I don't, then you can definitely go with Dozier. Do you know that even though Danks has been good, he's allowed 29 extra base hits in 260 at-bats so far this year, and the best part, he's struck out not quite 20% of the batters he has faced, which is nice because he's not that good.
I was not aware of that.
Despite the smoke and mirrors that he's thrown up in his last 4 or 5 games, with only giving up 1 or 2 runs in each of his last 5 starts. That kind of covers it for second base. I think we got a lot more choices there. I think Weeks is going to be the most highly owned because he is cheap. My next most rostered guy at the moment is La Stella. If I'm looking across the sites on all the industries, that's because of that darn Colorado game. I couldn't pay up for Altuve. Otherwise, I would have put Altuve in more lineups. And now that I see Ed Lucas out there, if I make more lineups after the show, he will be in there. One last guy, Ian Kinsler leading off. Kinsler, when did he become just the righty-righty monster? Is that moving out of Texas, moving to the fresh air in Detroit? Does that make him a better hitter?
I don't know. Well, because Texas obviously is a friendlier ballpark than Detroit is, but Detroit in the summertime gets interesting, and it's just summertime's just kicking in. But Yeah, I usually target Kinslivers lefties, but now against righties, sure, why not? And especially against bad righties, against Josh Tomlin, that works. I'm perfectly fine with Kinsler. I'm not going to talk you out of it. And I like Detroit as one of the if you're going to stack a team. Detroit's kind of been ignored of late, and for good reason. They've been kind of slumping to some degree, but the top of their lineup, and wow, Victor Martinez. We didn't mention Victor Martinez. He's pretty good. He's ridiculously good.
Yeah, I don't. I have not played him enough this year. We'll just leave it at that. I always look at him and he's so darn pricey. I don't put him in my write-ups. I probably should. I'm hung up on his performance from last year, which was clearly he must have been hurt or he's on a different training regimen this year and is doing much better. But yeah, I don't play him nearly enough.
Is that code word? What is training regimen code word for? Because I feel like you're insinuating something.
I believe it's code word for the Balco company.
Yeah. Well, I mean, does that help? Because what is it? I mean, okay, here's the number you keep hearing all year. I think he's got 19 home runs now and 21 strikeouts. And I feel like I saw something to the effect of, like, on the entire year, he swung and missed, like, 35 times.
I've seen a couple different little write-ups, like if you look on Fangraphs or, Buster Olney on ESPN will throw something like that out every now and then, like, on 3-2 counts when they throw him a breaking ball, he has not swung and missed yet.
Yeah.
Or things like that. You're just like, damn, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's shocking. He's just having a year for the ages with regards to he's just locked in with his hand-eye coordination. It's something to see. It's something to see.
And he's been getting all the revenge against Cleveland. I think he said 2 dongs against his old team.
Yeah, and we know that's very important, the revenge factor. I'm big on the revenge factor. Although in baseball, I don't think it really they play so often it doesn't matter. I like when people go back to their former locations because I like to say that that's almost like a home game for them if it's somewhere where they play a lot of games.
Sure.
It's a friendlier hitting environment, or it's at least one that they are used to. Advanced metrics. Do you ever look at ISO, the isolated power metric?
No, it's not one I acknowledge so much. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it's just something I don't necessarily look at. That's not necessary. I look at WOBA much more than ISO.
Okay. Just curious. Thought I'd throw
WOBA, OPS. Those are kind of lefty-righty splits. That's kind of what I'm looking at.
Your main ones. Yep. That's kind of how I roll with mine. We was talking with Andrew Louis Cards yesterday. He's kind of in that same boat. Kind of triangulates on those threes. There are others to look at, of course. But we were saying that I don't mess around with any stat unless it's broken out by lefty-righty splits anymore. Isn't that funny how things have changed? I mean, I guess it's great because we have so much of information available to us now, and you can just easily slice and dice it. But God, when I first started playing fantasy sports, it wasn't that way at all. There was no slicing, there was no dicing. Let's see, third base. Quickly, Aramis Ramirez, just put him in there. Matt Carpenter, who I mentioned, love Matt Carpenter in a lefty-righty matchup. Josh Donaldson, got to think about him. Priced down a little bit. He had a home run and a steal in his, I can't remember if it was last game or Friday night. I think it was Friday night since last game went into extra innings. It was a low-scoring affair. But righty-lefty in his case. Got to like that. And here's a guy I recommended in my write-ups for the first time ever, Matt Dominguez.
Yeah.
I hate Eric Bedard. I hate Eric Bedard.
Yeah, Matt Dominguez versus the lefty is always worth a look, especially for your tournaments. Not necessarily for your cash games. Just the Astros in general tend to hit the lefties much better. You mentioned Altuve. Matt Dominguez is another one. Springer, I believe, was better versus lefties as well. Pretty much that whole lineup, except for Castro. Avoid Castro against the lefties. But Josh Donaldson, you mentioned, he's priced down. 4.5K, facing a lefty. He absolutely mashes lefties. Again, same note. John Lester, not exactly the lefty you want to pick on, but he doesn't seem to care who it is. It doesn't really matter. A little note on Aramis Ramirez. I believe somebody said he left yesterday's game with a back issue. I'm not exactly sure if that's true. If that's not, I saw it in the chat. I watched most of the game. I didn't watch the last inning or two. So maybe he did leave, and I just missed that note. So keep an eye. Maybe check that out yourself. Go to RotoWorld or go to wherever you may find Twitter. And maybe he won't be playing today. There is some caution to be had, especially if you're locking in your lineups before that Milwaukee lineup comes out. Pablo Sandoval gets the park bump, and he faces a righty at 3.8K. I have no issues at all with the Panda. I think he's certainly in play. Biggie, if you want to pay up for Miggy, you can put him at third base at DraftKings, 5.6K. Very pricey, but he's very good as well. Again, Josh Tomlin, not very good at baseball. And Evan Longoria, kind of sneaky. We always like to pick on the lefties with Evan Longoria. Hasn't exactly come to fruition this year. But I don't know if you've seen him lately. He's rocking like a blonde mohawk. So whenever I can go with a guy with a blonde mohawk, I have to break a tie. That right there, that breaks the tie for me. Winner, blonde mohawk.
Absolutely. I was trying not to mention him today because Chad has been after me. He has become, I don't know if we were watching much of our shows last year, but I mentioned Prince Fielder every bleeping show I was on. Prince and I, we had a little messy breakup, but I'm now it's Evan Longoria, and I've stuck with him through some hard times, Dean, through some not so many extra base hit times. 5 in the month of May. 5 extra base hits. That was it. But he's rewarding us now, so all is good in EMac world. That's about it for third base. Again, bunch of choices there. I'm looking at that Colorado game. I am now, unless I'm going to play on our sponsor, DraftKings, where there is late swap, I am going to be off a lot of their players outside of their outfielders. We'll get to those guys in a second. I think we just have too much risk there. I think we're comfortable that Weeks is going to be in, but and probably more no. We've got question marks about Lucroy. We've got question marks about Tulo. We've got question marks around Ramirez. Even got question marks about Braun. I might have to play that in the 4 o'clock game lock slate, and sort of do my early fade in the early game, in the early set or the all-day set, and then pound them in the late set, since I already know everybody's going to be on them. If I want to be on them too, that's the way to do it. Shortstop.
We should mention, by the way. I'm sorry. Segura.
That's okay.
Can they stop betting Segura 8th? It's driving me nuts because, okay, by the way, I don't know if you saw yesterday. Here's a couple things to note about shortstop and that Milwaukee-Colorado game. There was 2nd and 3rd, and there was 2 outs. Milwaukee, Colorado, and the eighth man was up. Of course, you walk Gene Segura. You let Marco Estrada hit. And so it was a bases loaded, 2 outs, Marco Estrada, and a wild pitch. And the man on 3rd scored, and the man on 2nd scored, and the man on 1st scored. Did you see this play?
No. It sounds like a Little League reenactment.
Yes, it was awesome. 3 guys scored on a wild pitch. The first pitch was, the first guy, obviously was going to go because wild pitch, that's standard. The pitch was so wild, it kind of bounced around a little bit. The guy from second, they threw it to home, and he overthrew the guy, and it went like close to the dugout or something like that. They overthrew him, and the guy that was on 2nd scored. And Segura, who's fast, who started at first base, he saw that the guy who finally collected the ball was not really paying attention, so he's standing there on 3rd base. He's not, and then it was like a foot race to home.
Yeah, I did. I saw Segura from 3rd. I did see that part of the highlight. I didn't realize it was coming after the other 2 guys had already scored. But they did. I saw that. I had the the MLB Network was on, and they were just showing some highlights. I saw that part. That was hilarious. Yeah. It was like the guy he wasn't even looking, and all of a sudden Segura took off.
That was the 3rd man to score on a wild pitch. That was the end of the play, which is insane. And let's not bury the lead here. Let's not bury the lead at shortstop. What is the lead at shortstop? J.J. Hardy. He finally got his first dong.
He did. Warren had today picked. Today circled. He didn't know that it was going to be Tanaka. He made that call 3 weeks ago. But hey, he's only a day off. Yeah, Hardy. I mean, don't you have to pick him today? Because now that it's gone, the seal's been broken. He's going to get a couple today, right?
Absolutely, of course. That's kind of how it works. And it was great. When when a guy's never hit his first home run in the league, they kind of ignore him. They kind of screw around with him in the dugouts. So I just put the link in the chat. There's a celebration. Like he comes in and everybody's ignoring him. He's walking the dugout and everybody's just trying to give him the cold shoulder for fun, And he just starts dumping sunflower seeds and throwing sunflower seeds on himself. And finally, everybody he was just playing along because obviously this is a thing. And the guy has hit 77 home runs in the last 3 years. It's kind of silly that he hasn't homered all year, but they finally celebrated them. And I guess that monkey is off his back, if you want to use the cliche. But he's no longer thinking about it. So I'm not sure if I'm playing him today, but there you go. J.J. Hardy finally got his first dong out of the way. I like Hanley Ramirez against lefties. We talked about Eric Stoltz. He's terrible. Not the best ballpark in the world, but Eric Stoltz. Did we mention he's terrible? And Hanley absolutely mashes lefties. Jed Lowry, always a safe cash game play, 3.5K, perfectly fine with that. Billy Hamilton's been absolutely insane. He's hitting home runs, which is silly. Of course, he can always steal bases, but 5.2K, that might be a little bit too prohibitive for me. I'm not really sure. I'm probably going to pass there. But I imagine if he can steal against anybody, I can't imagine R.A. Dickey's going to throw the ball fast enough if he gets on base to throw him out.
Yeah, that's sort of my thoughts. I got him as an outfield play, but yeah, he's just there's no way he's not. If he's on base, he's gonna at least get one steal today. With Dickey on the mound, there's no So you just pencil him in for one, maybe two, and he's a guy who we've already seen steal 3 a couple different times. So there's a nice little upside there on that one. Let's see, I think there was one. Did you mention Xander? The Xander zone?
Somebody's saying Billy Hamilton's out, by the way. I did not mention Xander, but I'm perfectly fine with him. But so no Billy Hamilton today?
Well, that's not good. All right, well, cross him off my list. Wait, damn it, he's priced too high. But like Smith used to do last year, is bring him in as a cheap play, your pump play at 2K on DraftKings because he gets the pinch steal.
When you get a pinch steal, possibly a second pinch steal, and possibly a run, and I guess Dickey is actually pretty kind of quick to the plate. I don't know. I'm discounting. I guess he picks up speed, or he loses speed on his knuckleball, obviously, but he's quick enough to the plate where it's not too. It doesn't hinder him too much as far as stealing bases off him. Okay,
but for elite guys like D. Gordon and Hamilton, it's enough of a difference that just makes it that much easier for him. I want to circle back. Chat mentioned two people we didn't talk about at third base. David Wright and Todd Frazier. I think Frazier's in a good spot. He's just been mashing this year against righties. I think he has like 12 home runs already against righties. What's up with David Wright? Andrew and I were talking about this yesterday. We didn't want to take him against anybody but a lefty until he comes out of his funk. So I don't know that I want to take him, especially on DraftKings at 4,400. There's other guys I'd rather play.
David Wright's got Evan Longoria disease. Yeah, they're both lefty masters, but it's not happening for whatever reason. On Draft Street where they lower guys based on how they've been playing late. He's like 4K, and I had him. I played both David Wright and Andrew Heaney in the same team. Andrew Heaney a lefty, and Heaney pitched 6 innings, gave 1 run, and it was a dong to David Wright. And I just don't want to pay max price. I think what is he like 4.5, 4.4 for David Wright on DraftKings, and big ballpark still, not a lefty, so I'm probably not going to go there today.
All right, that kind of gets most of our second base, third base, and shortstop plays out. Let's jump on into outfield. We got about 8 minutes left. I'm going to call up a Star Street pick 5 and a rapid fire max if those are up. So I'm going to let you start off on the outfielders. Just want to throw it out there. We're an hour or 45 minutes away from tip off, and on our sponsor DraftKings, the check swing half full. That's a $12 GPP. The flare, a $5 GPP, is half full. So even at these lower levels, guys, there's a potential that there is some overlay of brewing. So I don't mind that. And then all sorts of nice little head-to-head options. I just put another slate out there. So if you want to pick up some of my games in a $5 contest, you already know who I'm probably going to play today because I've been talking about it for the last 45 minutes, and I wrote 1,500 words about it this morning. So there you go. You guys should have a leg up on me. Let's see how that works out. Dean, fire away on the outfielders. Let me get these other screens up for us.
Okay, outfielders. Whoever's playing in Colorado and Milwaukee. I got Dickerson. Assuming these guys are playing, we don't know exactly. We're gonna have to guess, but probably Dickerson, probably Blackman. Lefty on the mound in Colorado again against Milwaukee. Chris Crush Davis with the K absolutely annihilates lefties, as does Ryan Braun. Carlos Gomez, no issue there either. All the outfielders in that game, whoever plays, whoever's in the field. If anybody even comes close to the outfield, I'm going to play him. Scott Van Slyke, there's your, Scott Van Slyke. I'm convinced he was, I think he was bullied by a southpaw as a child. He absolutely annihilates lefties. I want to say it's something close to 25% of his at-bats versus lefties have gone for extra base hits, usually a double or a dong. Not exactly the most ideal hitting environment, in San Diego and Petco, but 3K. Can't really argue with that. We talked about Tommy Malone, lefty. He's got the splits that aren't exactly favorable for righties. He's bad versus everybody. So Johnny Gomes, he's in play as well. Lefty masher, 3.2K if you want a cheapie. Shin-Soo Choo finally got a dong yesterday. Maybe he's looking a little bit better. He's just underpriced in most spots, so I think he's worth a look. Jay Bruce, less than 4K on DraftKings against R.A. Dickey, who can give up the dong. They're in a positive hitting environment. Let Bruce hit it. I'm perfectly fine with Jay Bruce. That's pretty much. I don't mind the Yankees as kind of a swerve. I don't mind Ellsbury. He's kind of priced down a little bit. I think he's a little too cheap. And Gardner, sure, I'm perfectly fine with them. Jerry Sands, if you want to know a cheapie, he's in the lineup and he's 2.2K. So check him out as well.
All right, a couple guys. I got Matt Holliday batting second. He's good in righty-righties. He's got Kendrick. I also don't mind Craig batting cleanup. John Jay, I was hoping he'd bat second. I don't. He's okay at sixth. He's got a lefty-righty matchup. He doesn't have a ton of pop, but I like playing him. Let me see here. Ryan Ludwig. You mentioned swerve play. There's one. He actually is kind of middle of the road. He's going to be forgotten, and he's got a 345 WOBA against righties, same-handed matchup. So I don't mind that. And then speaking of same-handed matchups, I would be remiss if I did not mention Rajai Davis and Austin Jackson going against Tomlin today. I would prefer Torrey Hunter over those other two, but Torrey's sat out the last few games. So watch out on that one. And then Giancarlo Stanton's my top play. We also like Puig and Kemp. So that's our outfielder. So let's jump into these pick fives. These are good ones. There's some premium plays that'll help people figure out who we like better than somebody else. And the first one is Yu Darvish versus Masahiro Tanaka. And reminder on Star Street, the win is 6 points.
Let's see. Give me Tanaka.
I would agree.
It's
Tulo
so close.
Tulo or Miggy? I gotta go Miggy. I'm gonna lock this one in and hope Tulo doesn't play.
Yeah,
although
I'm gonna go Miggy.
On his gnome day, I don't think he's gonna do it.
That is a little dangerous. I'm not really sure what to do there, but Miggy feels safer, and you want to go safe when it comes to these tournament, these kind of games. So go with Miggy.
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you in chat, we like to mention this. On baseball, you want to go safe. On basketball, you always want the upside for these pick fives because it's event-based versus production. Or what do we call basketball? Minutes. You need minutes. So
there you go.
Giancarlo Stanton or Puig? I got to go Stanton since he's my top outfielder today. But what are your thoughts on that? Puig against the lefty, bad lefty.
I'll take this guy. Guy who plays for this team.
Oh wait, which team?
Looks like the Miami Marlins to me.
Very nice. Very nice. I like that. I forget. See, you got to remember when I talk, I take over the screen, so I had to have you say something to get that back on.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. Yeah, we don't have a producer today. What's up with that?
Yeah, people are breaking Skype. Anyway, back to that. So we'll take Stanton, Freddie Freeman, or Joey Votto.
Freddie Freeman or Joey Votto. This is kind of give me Joey Votto. Better matchup, safer cash game play, better ballpark.
Better chance for walks if Dickey's not on. He's got the discerning batter eye that he can take care of that. Lastly, Hanley Ramirez, Josh Donaldson. I got to go Hanley in this one, but I could be talking.
Yeah, Hanley certainly feels like a little bit safer, I think. But is there a chance Hanley sits today? Sunday game, he's kind of like nursing here and there. I don't know. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. I really want to play Donaldson, but he's like one for his last 30, or at least he was for a certain stretch. But he's in a great matchup. Give me Hanley of those two, just as long as he plays. I assume he's going to play.
Yep. So we got Tanaka, Miggy, Giancarlo, and Hanley and Votto. And then we'll finish this out with the Rapid Fire Max. Similar players, but not all matched up against each other. Giancarlo Stanton or Miggy Cabrera?
Oh, no. What are you doing to me, draft day? Is this draft day?
Draft day, yeah.
Oh, jeez. I want to hold the sign up again, but I don't know if I can. I really want to. You gotta pick this one.
I'm gonna pick Stanton because like I said, he's my top play, even though I like
All
John
right,
Neese.
Stanton.
Joey Bats or Joey Votto? Gotta go Votto, I think, a little safer.
Yeah, I don't want to pick on Cueto. Obviously, Bats can dong versus anybody, but give me Votto, those two.
Michael Brantley, who's back from injury, going against Scherzer in a lefty-righty matchup, or Robinson Cano going against Giordano. I'm not supposed to throw it too hard. Ventura in a lefty-righty matchup also. I got to go with Cano in that one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Cano as well. Robinson Cano is kind of one of my, like you talk about Prince Prince Fielder last year. Cano's he's kind of like that for me this year. He's just been so frustrating, but sure, he's just got to beat one guy. I think he can do it.
Let's see, Ellsbury or Dozier. We didn't mention Ellsbury. He's got a good lefty-righty matchup against Tillman today. You called out the outfielders for New York. We didn't specifically talk about any of them, but I think we got to say he's good, Gardner's good, and then Beltran if he's in the lineup. But I'm going Dozier in this one.
Dozier doesn't hit for a high average. He's kind of a dong or stolen base guy. You don't get a ton else. So in this kind of format, Dozier's got a higher upside probably, but Ellsbury can score fantasy points so many different ways. Runs, walks, doubles, triples, stolen bases. I'll even throw in an occasional dong. I'm going to take Ellsbury for 2.
All right, you talked me out of it. I'll go with Ellsbury. And our next one is George Springer or Freddie Freeman. That is an interesting one. Springer is priced really high on some sites and really low on others. He gets a righty-lefty matchup against Bedard, but you got Freddie Freeman going against Roark in his own lefty-righty matchup. I've got to go with Freeman. He's one of my favorite players. I will take him. But for any of you playing Fantasy Feud, George Springer I think is like at $40,000 or $50,000. So put him in your lineup if you're playing there. Who are you like on Springer or Freeman?
I was going to take Springer. It might be contrarian, which obviously doesn't make sense to be contrarian in these things. But I'm going to go the other way and really fool them. I'm going to show them. But I'm leaning Springer. I think Roark's going to be pretty solid today. So, and I'd rather pick on Bedard than Roark.
Yeah, secretly that's a little bit of emotional insurance for us Nats fans. We'll take Freddie Freeman, and if he does something, hey, it's okay.
Yeah,
we're benefiting from that. So,
we'll either way, you're getting something.
Yes, indeed. All right, well, we're straight up here at 12:30. We had a lot of coverage to go over here. Dan told us we had to be on our best behavior and not get too far off the beaten path, but that doesn't mean we won't be on again in perhaps a pirated, unscheduled show where Dean and I will be like I forget what the revolutionary fifth column was in The Running Man, but they took over that TV station. I think you and I can do the same thing. We can take over Roto-Grinders TV station.
Yeah, we won't tell anybody. Just keep it in the DL, and we'll throw it up in the chat and say, hey, check out the screen in like 2 minutes or so. Don't tell your friends. Just going to be us.
That'll be good, because we have a lot of movies we need to discuss and a lot of pop culture reference, because sadly, as one of the graybeards here on the show, there aren't too many people that live in my pop culture era outside of Smith and Ducky. But you're right on the edge there. You're right on the cusp. You're close enough that there'll be good overlap. But with that, I want to say thank you, DraftKings, for sponsoring the show. Thank you, Roto-Grinders, as always, for giving us a platform to have fun on. And thank you, Dean78904 Sports Almanac, for joining me today. With that, good luck, gamers.